it's Jackson with StudentFi, and in this video I'm going to share with you the Pay for College 3-step system. So what we want to do is take all this so complicated information, this crazy process of you as a student or as a family, trying to pay for college, right? And just say, okay, what are just 3 simple steps we can go through that kind of make sense for most people to give just a framework. Okay, so what that is going to be, number 1 is free money. Number 2 is financing, federal and private. And number 3, alternatives to the traditional financing. So number 1, free money, scholarships and grants. So that for everyone should be the first option. And that's because it's money that you get for school that you just don't have to pay back. So the only real difference is that a scholarship is typically merit-based, so like athletics or academic, whereas a grant is needs-based, based on financial demographics. But in either case, the best move is to use a scholarship research database. There are a few of them out there, and we have links to those on our site. But just go through those and apply to as many as you can. Try to pick the easy ones, the big ones, whatever. I probably submitted like 100 of them my first few years in college and got a few $1,000s in scholarships. So that's going to be move number 1. It's just, can we get free money in the form of scholarships and grants? Because obviously that's the best, right? So number 2, financing. So that's going to be usually taking out a loan to cover the costs. Best move for that is always to fill out your FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. Now when you do that, you're going to get an award from the government that specifies sometimes a scholarship and grant, but usually a certain amount of federal loans. And the reason we say that the federal loans are usually better than the private is because they have a competitive interest rate, but they have a lot more borrower benefits. So if these are things like if you're severely injured or pass away, you might be able to get those loans forgiven. You might be able to qualify for things like income-driven repayment, where your monthly payment is capped based on how much you're making. Depending on where you work, like if you're in the public sector or not, sometimes you can get your loans forgiven after 10 years. So anyway, they just have a lot more kind of benefits and flexibility usually than the private options. So once you max out your federal, which there are caps for that, if you go to our site and look at our Paying for College 3-step system guide, you can find a link to that. But usually it's anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 that you can take out. Once you get through those, then that's where you consider private loans. So what's best for those is just to apply. Usually I say apply to at least 3 of them, because then you can kind of shop and compare the best interest rate. Now you're usually going to need a co-signer in the form of a parent or guardian who has more of an established credit history. And then you're going to go ahead and apply directly with those private lenders, and a lot of times those interest rates are going to be a little bit higher, but that's sort of the nature of the beast with those. So when you think about financing, final step is just think of it as an investment. Be careful to make sure that taking out these loans, whether it's federal or private, makes sense for you, right? When a business takes out loans, they borrow money knowing that they can use that money to generate a good return on their investment and then pay the money back. College is really the same way. We're borrowing money now to pay for our degree, knowing that hopefully it's going to make us earn more money when we graduate. So that's how we want to think kind of analytically about it and make sure, is it a good idea to take out these loans? Okay, so that's part 2. It's going to be financing options. The third is going to be alternatives to the traditional financing. So we actually have a few strategies that we're going to share that can maybe be a debt-free alternative or, again, an alternative to the traditional just private student loan. So number 1 is something called an educational investment or an income share agreement. So if you don't want to just, basically take out a ton of money at a set interest rate and know that you're going to have to pay that much back every month, an income share agreement or educational investment is when a company invests in your education for a share of what you make in the future for usually 10 to 15 years after you graduate. So what does that look like? Well, with a loan, let's say I take out $10,000 at 5% interest, and I know I'm going to be paying back $300 per month. I didn't do the math there, but you get the idea. If I get an educational investment for $10,000, I might agree to pay them 2% of what I make for 10 years after college. So that means the amount I'm paying every month is direct proportion to how much I'm earning. So if I'm not earning very much, I don't have this huge monthly payment to worry about. But on the flip side, if I earn a ton of money, which is great, my payments are going to be higher. So that option, you just want to consider what are you likely to be paying out on a student loan versus the educational investment. Obviously, go to whatever option saves you more money. But again, that's sort of a alternative that most people don't even know exists. That's pretty good to investigate. Another one is going to be group interest rate negotiation. So we actually partner with a new company that does this, and it's really exciting. Basically what they say is kind of like Groupon or buying in bulk. So we pull together a whole bunch of people who need student loans, and then we actually negotiate with a lender and say, hey, we have 1,000 students here. They're all awesome. They all need student loans. Can you give us a little deal here? Just lower our interest rate a little bit. And it turns out that lenders are actually willing to do this, right? Because again, it's like a Groupon or a group discount. So that's another service we offer. Again, it's still a student loan, but it's kind of changing the game, taking back a lot of the power from the lenders to the borrowers. So that's an option you can consider. And then finally, we have peer-to-peer and crowdfunding. So these are going to be the least common option, to be honest, but they're still kind of interesting strategies to consider. So peer-to-peer there's a few platforms that do this. You can also use your network. That's where you go directly to another person, individual to individual, and get money to pay for your school. Crowdfunding there have actually been some pretty cool stories of this. There are students who have like a really interesting story or an inspiring background. They share their story with others and launch something on like Kickstarter or GoFundMe and raise thousands and thousands of dollars and actually get their school paid for. So we have some case studies of people who've done that, and it's pretty exciting. Again, probably not the most common route for everyone, but if you share your story, you never know. You might be able to get a few $1,000s from people in donations and fund some money to help you pay off your tuition. So again, those are not as common for everyone, but it's really interesting, I think, to think about some of these alternatives to the traditional model of just taking out a loan. So anyway, what we've got, this 3-step approach is going to get you through paying for the semester, get you through paying for school as a whole, right? So number 1, always we want to look for free money applying to those scholarships and grants. Number 2, we consider financing. Does it make sense for us to take out a loan? Then you apply for your FAFSA, for your federal, and then consider the private options. Number 3, like I said, if you want to go a little more in depth, consider some of these alternatives. If you're going to take out a loan, why not apply for this group interest rate deal? If you're considering a loan, maybe compare it to an educational investment, see how much you'd be paying, and there's always going to be some different options for you. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gives you the tools to start building your financial future right now. And as always, if you need anything, visit us at studentfi.org or contact us through this page, and we're happy to help.